Between 2017 and 2020, the United States saw a dramatic decline in green card approvals, with the number of lawful permanent residencies granted dropping from nearly 1.2 million in 2016 to approximately 655,000 by 2020, a reduction of almost 35%. This steep decline wasn't due to a lack of interest from immigrants or an administrative backlog alone. It was a direct result of a coordinated and calculated shift in immigration policy under the Trump administration. While public attention often focused on high-profile immigration moves like the construction of the southern border wall or the travel ban affecting several Muslim-majority countries, a quieter, more systemic transformation was underway. This change, now often referred to as the Trump effect, reshaped the U.S. immigration system from the inside out, specifically targeting legal pathways like green cards through regulatory barriers and executive actions. One of the most impactful changes came in the form of the expanded public charge rule, finalized in 2019. This rule allowed immigration officials to deny green card applications if an individual was deemed likely to become reliant on public assistance programs, such as Medicaid, food stamps, SNAP, or housing subsidies. The criteria for being considered a public charge were vague and far-reaching. Factors like income level, credit score, age, language skills, and education could all count against an applicant. Households were required to show income significantly above the poverty line, typically between 125% and 205%, to be considered financially stable. This rule disproportionately impacted lower-income immigrants and families, many of whom chose not to access benefits they were legally entitled to out of fear that doing so could harm their chances of securing permanent residency. The fear and confusion surrounding this rule created a chilling effect that rippled through immigrant communities nationwide. In addition to this, the Trump administration proposed the RAISE Act, which aimed to halve legal immigration and shift the system from a family-based to a merit-based model. Though the bill did not become law, it sent a clear message about the administration's intent to favor highly skilled, wealthy immigrants over family reunification. In 2020, another blow came when Trump signed an executive order suspending certain categories of immigration under the justification of protecting American jobs during the COVID-19 pandemic. This suspension, though temporary, had a significant and immediate effect on employment-based green card processing and the diversity visa lottery. As a result of these policies, processing delays skyrocketed, interviews became more invasive, paperwork requirements grew more complex, and many visa categories were narrowed or deprioritized. Even green card holders already living in the U.S. began to experience heightened scrutiny. Reports emerged of lawful permanent residents being questioned or even detained upon returning from international travel. Immigration attorneys described a notable uptick in green card holders facing legal challenges, particularly those with prior humanitarian protections, such as asylum status. The overall tone of immigration enforcement became more aggressive, and uncertainty about future policy changes discouraged many from pursuing or finalizing their applications. Even after the Trump presidency ended, many of these policy shifts left a lasting mark. While the Biden administration rolled back some of the more controversial measures, including the public charge rule, the system did not immediately recover. By 2023, green card issuances had rebounded to over 1.17 million, nearly returning to pre-Trump levels, but the backlog remained substantial, with wait times for some categories stretching into multiple years. The infrastructure of the immigration system had been fundamentally altered, and undoing the damage proved more complex than simply reversing executive orders. By 2025, new proposals reminiscent of Trump-era priorities continue to emerge. A notable example is the proposed Gold Card program, which would replace the EB-5 investment visa with a new policy requiring a minimum $5 million investment for permanent residency. This raised concerns among critics who argued that U.S. immigration was becoming increasingly pay-to-play, favoring the wealthy while pushing out working-class immigrants and those fleeing persecution. At the same time, House Republicans introduced legislation proposing a 5% tax on remittance transfers made by non-citizens, including green card holders. This policy targeted the billions of dollars sent abroad each year by immigrants to support families in countries like Mexico and Guatemala. Critics warned that such measures could harm both immigrant communities in the U.S. and vulnerable populations abroad, further entrenching the financial burdens placed on lawful residents. Overall, the Trump administration's approach to green cards represented a quiet revolution in immigration policy, one that didn't require new legislation, but instead relied on executive actions, bureaucratic changes, and regulatory reinterpretation to restrict legal immigration. Today, the lingering effects of those years are still being felt. Although some progress has been made, the uncertainty, fear, and delays instilled during that era have reshaped the way many immigrants view the American immigration system. For green card holders and applicants alike, the landscape remains fraught with challenges, and the future of U.S. immigration policy remains uncertain.